Shekhar and I arrived at Saint-Tropez on the French Riviera a few years ago. I was 29 years old and married about 3 years back. We had grown up in a rather conservative setting, and I was not sure as to how I would respond to the nudity that this resort town was famous for. In fact, I had butterflies in the stomach. Being a very kinky and horny person, I'm sure Shekhar brought some sex toys which he got from adultproductsindia.com. Shekhar was almost drooling at the local janitry as we got out of the taxicab. Attractive women with see-through tops and lots of off-the-hip styles, lots of navels. The desk clerk was eyeing me up as we were signing in, and I must say that it was an embarrassment and a turn on to think he was perhaps imagining me without clothes. At least that was what I could infer from his look. He gave Shekhar a knowing wink as he handed him the heavy metal key and he rang for the bellboy to bring our bags to the room. He too looked at me from head to toe, and I realized that it must drive these guys crazy to work in such a paradise. I was wearing a blue sari and a sleeveless blouse and a strapless bra. Like typical Indian women, I had bangles on one wrist, chain in the neck, a nose pin, earrings, anklets, etc. In the room, we pulled back the drapes to look down from our second floor balcony at the country yard below. Shekhar appeared to be somewhat disappointed to see that people were standing around in the evening wear. They were holding cocktails and talking in small groups. A classy crowd, but not very thrilling. Shekhar walked up to me coolly and started unbuttoning the blouse. "Stop it, the damned window is open," I said as I pulled away from him. "Are you kidding? These people will be seeing you naked anyway." I stopped and looked at him like it was the first time I had thought about it. "What makes you think I'm going to walk around like that? Topless, perhaps, but nude? No way," I said firmly. "Remember that this trip was your idea? Please don't crowd me. You know as well as I do that when in India, good girls are expected to cover their breasts in addition to a full shirt known as kurta with another piece of cloth known as dupatta. And if your mother came to know that I had stripped totally, I would be shown the door before you could bat an eyelid." "Oh, come on now. You can be as wild as they come. Forgotten the time when you had become fully nude in front of the fishermen?" he said, hugging me. I smiled and blushed. There were certain things in our marriage that had kept the excitement going, and it was largely due to the initiative taken by Shekhar. Let me describe ourselves. I'm fair, slim, stand 5 feet 6 inches in my bare feet, in which you can usually find me because Shekhar says that my feet are very pretty. My breasts are 34-6, nipples are brownish, chocolatey in color, with black eyes and hair. Shekhar is 5 feet 11 inches tall, lean, fair, though not as fair as I am, but is an excellent companion. We went down to dinner in the hotel's restaurant, and I kept looking up at him as I started across the room. He was looking at a beautiful 30ish woman with a dress that was like a diagonal sarong, but it only covered one breast. "Is that what you are looking at?" I asked. "I have nicer breast than that, babe, and you know it." "I know you do, but this is such a turn on in a restaurant. No one else seemed to mind it, but I could see that everyone in the place was making little darting glances in that direction from time to time. The following morning we were having breakfast at the outdoor tables. I had on my bikini with a thin beach jacket over it and was barefooted. I suppose I looked good and was getting looks from everyone in the place. "You look really good in that. Do you see how the others are looking at you?" I started. To him, it seemed that I enjoyed being in the center of things. "Don't be silly," I said. "After the late breakfast, We decided to take a walk to the beach. Saint Tropez is a place with a beach for everyone, from the straight to the gay, from the bathing suit to the nude. We decided to be adventurous and at least take a look at each one. We passed through the more conventional beach, seeing the usual collection of overweight middle aged Europeans, mainly sitting around and soaking up the Mediterranean sun. There was a sign that said Topless Beach, and Shekhar was extremely keen to go dice, so we followed it to the left. Walking along the water's edge, that was when my eyes started to go crazy. Wherever I looked, there were topless women. Shekhar appeared to be chuckling to himself as we walked along. I would say he was salivating. They were lying down, sitting up, and walking around, and everywhere I looked were boobs. It was a sea of bare breasts. Do you want to stop here for a while? I asked him, pointing to an empty area about 50 feet from the water. Sure, throw the towels down here. We laid down the beach towels and both sat down. Looking around us, I took off the outer covering, wearing just the thin bikini. The sight of so many topless women from virtually all nationalities had boldened me up. Rub some lotion on my back, I asked as I went down onto my stomach. He began to squirt the white liquid onto his hand and started on my upper back. That feels good. Are you sure you can concentrate on me for a minute and stop ogling at the females? Yes, I think I can, Shekhar said as he was sitting looking all around him at the women and girls of all ages, literally letting it all hang out. I turned my attention to Shekhar, who after the massage was resting his head on his crossed arms, eyes half closed, and the hint of a smile was on his face. See anything you like? I asked. What do you think? Silly question, I guess, I said as I wiggled my body to a more comfortable position. I was looking at an attractive woman with beautiful full breasts slowly peel off his top, revealing full breasts and brown nipples. After he rubbed the lotion into the skin on my back and legs, he reached up without any warning and unsnapped the back of my bikini top. Excuse me, sir, what are you doing? I queried. Nothing, just helping you feel more comfortable, he said, looking at my face for a reaction. I lay there for a minute as I was watching a couple of girls in their late teens walk by topless. I must have been staring because one of them said something to the other and they both giggled as they walked by. How would you like me to put some suntan lotion on the other side now? Shekhar said, snapping me back to reality. I was hesitant but rolling onto my back, holding the bikini top in place modestly. Okay, you have got it. Now I could see that Shekhar was starting to get more excited. He repositioned his cock so the loose bathing suit would not look like a tent. Then I realized what the young girls were giggling about. No surprise though. Probably every male on this beach was in a perpetual state of erection. He slowly applied the lotion of my legs and worked his way up my thighs and belly, then my arms and upper chest and neck. Do you want me to do your boobs? He asked slowly. I don't know. This is a weird place. I don't know if I can hack it, I said nervously. Come on, you would exactly be standing out. It's normal to have bare boobs around here. When you keep your top on, you look like a tourist. I'm a tourist, all right, if you don't think I'm a whore, I replied. Whores don't strip on beaches. Lovely, darling, sexy, cute wives do. They also get fucked, remember? The Leap episode? Shekhar replied mischievously. I will hit you if you bring that up. In any case, what could I do? I was nude, and you had brought your friend along, and you were careless enough to let him do it without a condom. It is good nothing happened and I did not get pregnant, or else we would be here with Dileep's kid. I laughed. After that episode, I had started taking pills. Having sex with one of his friends was one thing, especially when he initiated it, but getting pregnant was a sure way of getting into trouble. He didn't need an invitation to gently pull away my top. Automatically, my hands came up to cover my tits. Shikhar was most reassuring. He gently placed his hands on mine. Honey, you look nice like this. Just relax and enjoy yourself. Besides, if we don't get some lotion on these babies, you will look like the girl over there. He motioned to some people walking along the water. One of them was obviously an American girl with European friends. Her tits were angry red and burned while the rest of her was well tanned. I guess you're right. God, what would the people at home say? I brought the hands to my sides. I noted that my nipples were standing straight up and the areoles were puckering up. It was not even cold out. Shekhar was turned on by my this minor act of exhibitionism and was really getting excited as he applied the white lotion on the pale skin of my C-cup breasts. Are people looking at me? I asked. My eyes were closed and my arms was now over my face like I was in disguise while my breasts were exposed and I could actually feel my nipples' gradual erection. Yeah, me. I'm a people, he said good humoredly. He brought my arm down and had me look around. After a few minutes, I seemed to be getting used to being topless and I began to look around the beach. People were all around, walking, sitting, standing. We were not that close to any other and I seemed to be comfortable. Let's take a walk, Shekhar suggested. I can't walk like this, I said. What's the difference? You are lying here topless and no one is arresting you. You also take your swim trunk off, I said. Okay, he said and pulled it down in one quick stroke. Shekhar's cock was not circumcised and it was in a state of semi-erection, having seen so many nude girls. Due to the erection, the foreskin had given a bit of way and the head was partially visible. You are so shameless. Men like you would rather remain naked only. You don't mind that everyone can see your cock? Oh God, that guy over there is looking at me, I said a bit self-consciously. I pointed to a couple off the right. I'm looking at his wife too, he said, wondering if it was the wrong thing as the words came out. Then I recognized them. That's Michael and Shannon from the last night, I said, naming the English couple we met at dinner. They were in their early 30s and Shannon was pregnant. Michael waved to us. Shekhar returned it. Oh yeah, well, I would be embarrassed for anyone I know to see me like this. Anita, love, Shannon is also topless and you look a lot prettier than she does, Shekhar said in apparently a convincing manner, because after hearing his words and realizing the futility of trying to cover up my boobs, I sat up for the first time. My knees were up and covering my breast, but it was a start. Lovely. I have always preferred the way breasts look when a woman is upright rather than the way they flatten when lying down, Shekhar said. Michael was on his feet and walking over to us. I kept my knees drawn up so as to casually hide my breast and nonchalantly started putting sand onto my toes. How are you two on this fine morning? Michael asked as he approached us. Shikhar was the first to answer as we both smiled at our new friend. Just fine, Michael, getting used to the place, he said. Michael too was naked and I couldn't help feeling slightly uncomfortable. Although his cock was not erect, but to be taking to a naked man was somewhat disconcerting. Moreover, his cock was circumcised, and there was a palpable difference between both their cocks. "And how is your wife?" he said, extending his arm for a handshake. I shook hands with Michael and very slowly I brought my legs down and my breasts were now in full public view. This was perhaps the first time that a stranger, and that too naked, was seeing me topless in a public place, but I was acting nonchalant. I seemed to be getting braver now. Michael, in his polite British way, was not staring at my tits, and this was very helpful. "Why don't you come over and join Shannon and me? We brought a chilled rose and we would like some company drinking it." Shekhar and I looked at each other. Shekhar looked at me and him with a jolly, "What the hell?" sure expression, and we both stood up and walked with Michael. I noticed that Michael too was quite handsome. Fair like all Europeans, he was about 5'10". I gathered up our stuff as an excuse to walk behind them, to observe Shekhar's body language. I was doing fine, walking with a proud gait and not covering up my tits. What the hell, even my husband was nude. When we got to their spot on the beach, Shannon was sitting under an umbrella and she greeted us warmly. I was trying to not to look at her full-looking breasts. She was only a few months pregnant, but was already getting engorged breasts and there were some milk veins showing. There was no tan at all. "Hello, you two. How are you enjoying your holiday?" she asked. I stifled a laugh. "Fine," I said. "Hard to get used to the way people dress around here, isn't it?" I said, trying not to laugh. Michael's eye darted to my bikini panty. I was concentrating on keeping my eyes away from his semi-erect cock. "What is your name, love?" Shannon asked me. "Anita," I replied. "Where are you from?" "India," I replied. "Married?" I nodded. "Shannon needs to keep out of the sun because she burns so easily," Michael explained. "But look at those pale breasts." "Yes, I'll never get a proper tan this way." She lifted one of her breasts and let it fall again. "But Anita, you look like you will take a good tan because the rest of you is so golden. Besides, you have